USC opened their Big Ten conference play with a W on the road. That means they've already matched last season's win total. And unlike the Purdue game last week, this week they have a planned late kickoff and a chance to go 4-0. Things are about to get a little bit tougher.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Hulkin, and thanks for making Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you are watching this show on YouTube, you know the routine. Pick your platform. Download this podcast. The show is always going to be free. The show is always going to appreciate your support. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, we got a really big show for you. Season's about to ramp up big time. This is when things get a little bit more challenging, but it's nothing that USC can't handle. And then we're going to talk about that, what's coming up, the schedule. So far, it's been pretty kind to USC, but they've been able to put up some big numbers. And I got some numbers for you from this last game. They're going to really put things into perspective how USC's season is going. And then typically I like to do a Monday mailbag, but we've got to change that up a little bit. We've got MVP the third, who joins us every Monday now to talk about college football, specifically USC football. So we're going to do Monday's mailbags on Tuesday because why not? So first thing I want to do, though, is I want to turn the page. We're going to shift our focus from Purdue on to Michigan State. But before we can do that, we have to kind of talk about the whole thing. So right now, the Trojans, they have a chance to be 4-0. They're 2-0 in conference. And so they can be 2-0 before they're playing their first marquee game of the year, which is going to be Illinois a week from Michigan State. So you got the Michigan State kickoff. That's going to be 8 p.m. Saturday night at the Coliseum. You want to talk about extremes. Well, that Illinois game, that'll be a week later. It's going to be an early kickoff. It's going to be 9 a.m. in LA, even though it's being played in Champaign, Illinois, which means it'll be 11 o'clock local time there. It's an early kickoff. So again, things are going to get a little bit different, a little bit more. It's going to get tougher as we start ramping up the schedule. And because the game is being played in Illinois against the number 9 ranked Illinois Fighting Illini, at least they are this week, that's going to be Fox's big noon game of the day. So yeah, the pressure, national spotlight, all that. So you got Matt Leinart. He's going to lead USC's team out of the locker room as the tunnel captain this Saturday night. And then he'll fly out there to Champaign, Illinois, and he'll be there for USC's 11 o'clock local time kickoff. That's 9 a.m. in LA. Just want to remind everybody. So I'll talk about that more next week. This week, we're going from Purdue to Michigan State. The season's getting tougher starting on Saturday. And believe it or not, Trojan fans, you better be appreciating what you're seeing because time flies when you're having fun, and everyone's having fun right now. Again, Trojans are 3-0. They're looking to go 4-0. But before you get to 4-0, you're a quarter of a way through the season already. Yeah. Quarter of the way. Remember, 12-game regular season. Do the math. But again, this week's focus is on Sparty. Head coach Jonathan Smith, he's bringing his scrappy and undefeated Michigan State Spartans to the LA Coliseum. Coach Smith knows the Coliseum. He's coached there plenty of times. He's familiar with the whole atmosphere that can sometimes overwhelm players. So he's actually bringing his guys in on Thursday to kind of get acclimated. They're even going to go to the beach. But again, I'm only pointing that out because we know Coach Riley, he likes to show up the day before the game without doing a walkthrough. I'm not digging. I'm just kind of showing you some differences around the country. Look, I said it during the offseason. Here on Locked On USC, my everydayers have heard it probably, 5 times at least minimum. And I've talked about it on Inside the Trojan Huddle. That's the weekly panel show I do over there at wearesc.com. I've said it during the offseason. I'm going to say it again during the season. Right now. Ready? This is a trap game. Michigan State, they're 3-0. They opened their season with wins against Western Michigan. That was, I think the score was 23-6. Then they played a really tight double overtime game at home against Boston College. They won that game 42-40. And then this past weekend, they took care of Youngstown State 41-24. So Michigan State now has played 3 games in East Lansing, Michigan. Season's getting tougher for them as well. It's not just USC. They're coming out to LA for the first time on the road this season, at least. And here's the other thing. They might not be playing with some of their best players. In fact, there's a chance they could be missing at least 3 starters. Coach Smith on Monday said starting right guard Luka Vincic is likely out for the season, and receiver / kickoff returner Alante Brown is also going to be sidelined for an extended time. Here's where Michigan State, these are 2 players, these next 2 guys, if these guys aren't playing for Michigan State, they're going to have a really tough time winning this game. So you've got their wide receiver, Nick Marsh, as well as their starting running back, Mekhi Frazier. Both are questionable. Coach Smith was quoted as saying both Nick Marsh and Mekhi Frazier we'll kind of see what it looks like at the end of the week, but those 2 are not anywhere near the other 2 in regards to the amount of time they're going to miss. So right now, those guys are up in the air. It's kind of a day-by-day thing. They're probably going to hold them out for most of the week during practice just to see if their bodies can, get better. Nick Marsh, again, this dude's going to play on Sundays. He's really good. He had 3 touchdown catches in the first 2 games, and he's had 6 catches for 94 yards against Youngstown State. Then he got hurt. That happened in the second quarter, and he didn't return to the game. Frazier, who again is the team's leading rusher as well as their starting running back, he was injured early in the fourth quarter, and he didn't return. And they were able, if you saw him on the sideline, that he was wearing a walking boot. So again, we'll see how that goes. So Michigan State fans, they have some concerns, and for good reason. If you're missing your best wide receiver, guy who's going to play on Sundays, your starting running back, and a starting offensive guard, that's not a good thing. USC fans, on the other hand, they're also a little bit concerned, but this one's more directed at the defensive secondary, and it's because of the last couple of games against Georgia Southern and against Purdue, where the secondary, and I guess we should talk specifically about the cornerbacks. It's looked a little loose, and it's causing some consternation because I can't believe it, Mark. USC's defense gave up 300 yards to Ryan Brown and Purdue on the road. Okay, well, he had 308 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 3 interceptions. I get it. You don't want USC giving up 300 yards through the air. Okay. But I think USC fans, you should probably feel better about your chances since you're playing at home, right? Especially when you compare your situation to Michigan State's situation. They have pessimism creeping in for a reason. They're concerned about their entire defense. USC fans, and I get it, we're concerned about the cornerback play because things are starting to get tougher. You're going to go up against better quarterbacks, better roster personnel. I get all that. But let me just kind of, again, contrast and compare, okay? Michigan State, they watched their defense struggle against Youngstown State. They gave up 24 points at home to an FCS school. And that comes after the fact that, remember, Boston College, they gave Michigan State all they can handle, scoring 40 points in East Lansing. Well, guess what just happened to Boston College? They just played Stanford. Stanford's not very good. Stanford won that game. That's their first game of the year. So Michigan State probably has more to worry about than USC. That doesn't mean that USC can, overlook these guys. Can't do that. Jonathan Smith is a damn good coach. He will have that team ready to play. They'll be tough. They're a gritty type of team. And if you've ever watched any of Jonathan Smith's Oregon State teams, that's what he's building in East Lansing right now. Okay? So, what Michigan State brings that could cause challenges for USC's defense. How about their quarterback, Aiden Childs? He's mobile. He likes to use his legs. We know USC can struggle on defense at times with that. We saw it against Purdue a little bit. They got to clean that up. USC's defensive line, they just need to, here's what they need to do. And USC will be fine at the end of the day. Just stay on their 5 sacks per game average, just slightly under. They lead the nation with 14 sacks through 3 games. But like I mentioned, the competition is getting tougher from here on out. So Ryan Brown, pretty good quarterback for Purdue. Aiden Childs is going to be a challenge. And then the week after that, USC flies out to Illinois. They're going to take on Luke Altmaier and the Fighting Illini, who, by the way, plays Indiana this week in Bloomington, Indiana. So you got Michigan State, Illinois, and then Michigan back home in LA. And that's ahead of the Notre Dame and Nebraska game. So again, things are getting tougher. Everyone knew this was going to be the first tough stretch of the season. And I think Michigan State is the perfect ramp-up game after playing on the road against Purdue, who I think, we talked about it with MVP3, Marvin Powell, on yesterday's episode. Purdue's going to be better than everybody anticipated. Marvin thinks they'll win 2 to 3 more games. I think they're going to finish with either 4 or 5 wins. We'll see. Again, they have to stay healthy. They have no margin for error. But Purdue was a good test on the road for USC. First game in conference, got the win on the road. Now, how good is Michigan State? Well, our good friends over at FanDuel, right now, USC is a 17.5-point favorite, and I think the line opened at minus 16.5. The over-under is 56.5. Keep an eye on the line, because if it keeps getting bigger, that's bad news for Michigan State on the injury front. That's all you really need to know. But this should be USC's toughest game to date. It's a trap game. USC cannot look ahead to Illinois. They're ranked number 9 in the country, because things just get tougher from here on out. Focus on the here and now. You're number 24 in the country. You're number 25 in the country. You should be ahead of number 24 Notre Dame. But anyways, we're not talking about that. But win on Saturday, you'll jump up in the polls a little bit. Win impressively. Who knows how far you jump up? And then all of a sudden you got that big game atmosphere in Champaign, Illinois. Fox Game of the Week, big noon kickoff show. I'll be out there. Cannot wait. All right, next segment, we're going to talk about some of the numbers from this past game, and then we're going to jump into Tuesday's Monday Mailbag. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to, just get in on the action. All you have to do is just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes. And you can do that in less than a minute, 60 seconds. And here's the best part. Even if one of your pick misses, Prize Picks has invented this thing called the Flex Play, so you can still double your money. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. I brought it up on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC. Eric Gentry, he should have made that interception that actually led to a fumble and a touchdown for Purdue. Let's give Eric Gentry some flowers, okay? I got some numbers here. Our good friend Eric McKinney does a lot of research. He put this up over there at weareSC.com. So I'm giving you a little preview of what you can get when you get over there and subscribe. Only $1. Check it out. When you're done watching Locked on USC, first thing every day, your next move, get on over there to weareSC.com. Check out all that great insight, all that great written content that we give you. But first, let me tell you why Eric Gentry deserves some flowers. In that game against Purdue, 8 tackles, 3 for a loss, 2 sacks, and he forced 2 fumbles. We know one of them was returned for a touchdown by Purdue. However, that again, one of the fumbles came on a sack. The ball actually went out of bounds on that one. And then I just mentioned the second one that he probably should have been aware that when it fell to the ground, you gotta jump on it. But those 2 forced fumbles in the game against Purdue. Gentry now has 6 forced fumbles in his USC career. That's the most for a Trojan. Are you ready for this? Since safety Josh Pinkard had 7 from 2004 through 2009. Defensive lineman Lawrence Jackson, he also had 7 from 2004 through 2007. I have a feeling Gentry's going to break that record. He's going to become USC's all-time. We'll see. Now, this next number, it isn't great, and it's actually kind of ironic. When I did that crossover show with Locked On Boilermakers Nick Arvin, some of you probably saw that show. You better if you're watching this every day. By the way, if you are not an everyday viewer on this show on YouTube, right now, take a second, click that red subscribe button, smash that thumbs up. Both of those are going to help this show continue to grow, and click that bell notification so you don't miss an episode. So on that crossover show, I said Purdue's offensive drives, if they want a chance to win that game, to upset USC, they can't have their drives end in field goals. They need touchdowns if they want to pull off the upset. Well, on Saturday, USC had 4 red zone possessions without a touchdown. It's not like they didn't score, though. They had 5 out of their 6 scoring. They went 5 for 6 scoring on red zone possessions, but just 2 of those were touchdowns. And that drops the Trojans to number 54 in the country in red zone touchdown rate at 66.7%. That's middle of the road. The Trojans actually finished at 70.9% last season, which would have put them number 23 in the country. And that was a drop from 75% and a number 10 ranking in 2023. Who was our quarterback? Caleb Williams. And that was a drop from 76.6% and a number 3 ranking in 2022 with Caleb Williams. So that drop off was less significant year to year with Caleb, but last year it really dropped off, and you see where we're at right now. What does that mean? That means Caleb's legs were probably the difference during those seasons compared to last year and so far this year. So Jaden Mayamba just needs do a little bit more using his feet when USC's in the red zone. Again, this might be play calling, or this just might be Jaden's decision making. Regardless, I think that's where those percentage points are dropping. We'll see how things play out throughout the season. Here's another number: 10. That's how many tackles for loss USC had against Purdue. That's a really good number. I don't know how good it is. Well, USC is now the 2nd ranked team in the country in tackles for loss per game. They're averaging 10.3. In fact, there's only 3 teams in the country right now averaging 10 or more per game. Indiana's number 1, USC's number 2, Pitt is number 3, and then Penn State is number 4, but they're slightly under 10 at 9.67 per game. Here's how much USC has improved. Last year, USC finished 123rd in the country. They were averaging 4 per game. Looking ahead, Michigan State ranks 124th in tackles for loss per game. They're averaging 7.67. And Illinois, just something to think about. They're number 109 in the country, averaging just 6.67 TFLs per game. If USC's offensive line continues to just get better game by game, I think it might start. I think I'm going to like USC's chances on the road. What do you think about this number? This is actually a really good number. Going back to the defensive side of the ball, 31. That's how many quarterback pressures USC had in one game. 26 of those came from the defensive linemen. Remember, Antonlynn doesn't like to dial up a lot of exotic stuff. He likes to rush 4 guys. Maybe every now and then he'll throw a 5th guy in there with a linebacker blitz or a safety blitz, but rarely does he just throw the entire kitchen sink at a team. So Devin Tompkins, he had 7. Floyd Boucard had 6. By the way, he got his first sack of his college career. Braylon Shelby had 4. Cameron Fountain and Anthony Lucas had 3 apiece. Jade Abasiri had 2. And Jakeem Stewart, he got 1. He probably would have had another one, but he was being held. Well, anyways, so those 31 pressures are the most in the game. Since USC had 37 last year, 36 against Rutgers. And in that game, 27 came from the defensive line. And that's exactly how you want it to play out. Now, if there's one area that USC, the team needs to clean up and get it cleaned up quickly, it's penalties. 104 penalty yards for the Trojans. Now, I get it. If you follow me on X, you know my feelings on this matter with the big conference officiating. It's terrible. I was a little bit more animated on X. Go check it out. It's a family show. Can't talk like that here. But I sort of went in raw with a little mini rant directed at the officials, about 30 seconds. If you want to check it out, go check it out. Okay, so USC had 2 penalty flags against the bench for interference, meaning they were too close on the sideline, and one of the officials might have tripped or touched a player or a coach. Can't do that. You need your get back guys. But USC, the team, they were fired up. They were making plays. Offsides, that was an issue for the defensive line. In fact, they had 2 in a row on one. Remember that series? Can't let that happen. Got to clean that up. And then just literally 1 week after you have 3 hands to the face penalties, you get another one against Purdue. This has got to stop. The leaping penalty call against Walter Matthews, complete BS. I talked about that defensive holding call against Thanos. Those were horribly bad calls. But right there's 25 yards in penalties. Regardless of how bad the officiating is, how many phantom calls they seem to come up with weekly, USC has to get this cleaned up. This won't fly on the road against the better teams. But I think by far, the best stat of the game, 0 turnovers, and this makes it 3 games in a row without Jaden Mayaba throwing an interception. I'm telling you, that's the key to the season. If Jaden, just stay in neutral, young man, stay in neutral, keep making great decisions. Let your guys on the outside do the work for you. Let the running backs do the work for you. I mean, I love the fact that Tanuk Hines got involved, and then it shows that Jaden is trusting his guys, even the true freshmen. Keep doing that, and USC is going to be just fine. Keep throwing those 50-50 balls to Jacoby Lane. There's probably a good 90% chance he'll catch it anyways. Makai Lemon does Makai Lemon things. Lake McCree's doing Lake McCree things. Everybody loves the tight ends. Jaden Mayaba he's played really, really well so far. And in fact, I think he's the number 1 rated quarterback in the country. So he must be doing something right. Kudos to Coach Riley for getting inside his head, trimming the fat, doing what needed to be done. All right, one more segment to go. We're gonna let the fans speak up now. College football is back. I could not be more excited. By the way, maybe you saw or not, I don't know. There's clips flying around. I was in the radio booth with Peter Arbogast and Sean Cody. I had no idea it was on camera, but I was pretty excited. Go check it out. So it's the tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets, sometimes it can feel like it's more of a battle than the actual game itself. With the endless queues, you got those hidden fees. The prices are jumping before you check out. All of that. That's why you should use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantages back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices. There's no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and just a couple taps, I saw a bunch of amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25. If you don't have a ticket to the USC Michigan State game, go check out Game Time right now. The app made it super simple, and I could even see the exact view from my seat before you checked out. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Usually I do Monday's mailbag on Mondays. Makes sense, right? Common sense. But things have changed. Got to adjust. And things have changed for the better, I think. And the feedback we're getting, I think so as well. Now on Mondays, I got MVP3, Marvin Powell III. He's hanging out. We're talking about the previous weekend's game, giving us some knowledge, insight, X's and O's information. He's a valuable addition to this show. So I figured, you know what? Let's not cut out the fans. They're my everydayers. They listen every day. They ask questions. Well, we're going to start doing it on Tuesdays. So here we go. This one's from B22 Stinger, everydayer. Hey, Mark, my girlfriend just asked me, why did he just say long plane ride home 3 times? B Stinger answered for me. He said, well, he likes to say things 3 times for emphasis. That's how I know he's an everydayer. Because that is my rule. When I want to emphasize something, I say it 3 times just to make sure the message is clear. So great job, B22. And yes, I was trying to emphasize that I was not looking forward to an L on the road and a long plane ride home. I hate those plane rides after a loss. They suck. Seriously, though, just let your girlfriend know it has nothing to do with me being an obsessive compulsive person, which I am not. I'm not like Sheldon Cooper. I don't need to knock on a door 3 times. So anyways, this one comes from Chris 10. Fight on, Chris 10, I should say. Mark, we missed you on the Big Ten Squad show. They have no respect for USC. Locked on Purdue and Mr. Big, he's talking about Craig Sheeman, said we will lose to Purdue. When we curb stomp Purdue, make sure you let them hear about it. Trust me. So we'll see if Nick and Craig are on the show this week. Depending on when we record. Again, I have a conflict with USC football practice, so we'll see. But if trust me, if I'm there, they'll know. And I think others on that panel are also starting to see the light. So yeah, I know no one's giving USC a lot of respect right now. A little bit of skepticism, and that's understandable. But I think people are doing that raised eyebrow right now, going, ooh, what's going on? If USC is 5-0 going into that Michigan game, trust me, they will all start to bow down. They'll kiss the ring. I'll make it happen. You'll see. The next one, this is from Nathan McCreary, 914. Mark, I live in New Mexico, and I love USC football. Seeing the University of New Mexico leading UCLA in the third quarter by a touchdown, wow, double win for me. Seeing how well New Mexico did against Michigan, either New Mexico is no longer the doormat of Division I football, or Michigan isn't as strong as people think. I pick SC to go at least 10-2 and going deep into the playoff tournament. Nathan, 2 things can be true at the same time. Michigan plays Nebraska this week. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And New Mexico might be a better team. So as I mentioned, Michigan plays at Nebraska this week. There's a really solid chance that the number 21 ranked Wolverines, they're going to have 2 losses by the time they get to LA. I believe they have a bye after they play this weekend in Lincoln, Nebraska. After that game in Lincoln, I'm sorry, they don't actually. They after that, then they'll host Wisconsin, who's terrible this year. But I will tell you this, Nathan, if I were UCLA, I'd give New Mexico's head coach a look-see. Just saying. He might be one of those up-and-comer head coaches. And I know UCLA has been trying to find the right guy. I'm just saying, don't be upset if they come after your coach. Here's one from John Avalos, 4097. Mark, isn't it Coach Riley's job to ride the refs when they are missing blatant calls? Maybe he is and I missed it. John, absolutely. He absolutely is. But you know what? I'm allowed to help too. Just kidding. Like I said, go check out my Twitter thing. You'll see it. You'll go, ooh, Mark, yeah. Calm down. Anyways, I'm not sure what the TV showed to your question, John, but Coach was riding the officials a few times. He was definitely all over them on that leaping penalty, which we know is just caca. And he was also pretty animated after one of the gazillion holds that Purdue's offensive line wasn't called for. I don't remember which exact one, but Coach was like literally, yeah, he was hot. He was hot under the collar. He was doing this. This one is from Trojan Mono 1. Okay. Mark, can you get Marcus Allen for the next show? But seriously, another great roundup with MB with Marvin Powell III. Fight on. Trojan Mono. Okay, obviously it wasn't going to be on the next show, but I'd love to make it happen down the line. So Marcus, you have an open invite. I know you watch the show. Let me know, and let's talk some USC football. I'll see what I can do to make it happen. All right. Excuse me. Wow, we are out of time already. I have other viewer mailbag stuff that I can go to. We'll hold that off until next week. But here's something you guys need to check out. When you're not watching Locked On USC and you got all of your information from wearesc.com and you've done everything you need to do on the Locked On Network, I got one more thing for you to do. On Thursdays, it's another big moment for Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, as well as former college football star Jesse Hawley, and all of the Locked On local experts. College football preview only Locked On can do. Catch the College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. All right, everyone. That's it for this episode of Locked On USC. I will be back again tomorrow with another one. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.